Uncultured monsters. Join my crusade! I bestow a mighty curse. Blood calls to your soul. I bestow a mighty curse.
My army will envelop this world. Rise and shine.
My bloodline flows through you.
Find a use for you later. Waste not, want not.
YouTube, my name is Mesa Sean, and welcome back to another Division 2 video. Alright folks, sit back because this one might be a long one. This one's going to be a starter / beginner's guide to the Division 2. And this one's a video by request from you guys in the comment section, as well as a number of folks over on Twitter and also channel members. Now, I think this is a great time to get into this game for a couple of reasons. One, if you tapped out early on when the Division 2 launched, well, they're completely revamping the game with the new expansion that's coming out on March 3rd. They're totally redoing everything from the progression system to an infinite progression system to how you look at your stats, how you can pick out your gear and right away see if something's good or do you want to recalibrate something and so forth. Two is that it's on sale right now for $3 in the United States. I don't know how much it is in other countries, but I will link whatever links they have on their website in the description, and you could check the price there. But it's on sale. So if you see what you like in this video, I would go pick it up. You can't go wrong for $3. That's a cup of coffee or a few dollars off your, as I made my dumb joke the other day, your Vente Enema Latte. Anyway, so what is the Division 2? The Division 2 in a nutshell, well, it's a looter shooter. It's a third-person cover looter shooter. Now, when I mean cover, meaning you're constantly going from cover to cover to avoid enemy fire, and also you get some bonuses sometimes depending on what you're running in terms of skills and stats and things like that to, well, kill bad guys and, of course, get loot. And when I mean loot, there is just tons and tons of loot in this game and tons of activities to do in this game. This game, warning right now, is a time eater. Whether you start the game off at level 1 or you use a character level boost, which I'm going to talk about in a minute here, there's just a gazillion things to do. And I'm going to talk about some of those things, not all of them, because there's too much to cover in this video. Now, this video is not sponsored by Ubisoft, although I did do some sponsored streams from them when the Division 2 first came out, and they gave me a code for it on PC. Now, my main Division 2 account, which is fully maxed out, gear sets, everything, is on PlayStation 4. So I used a character level boost to boost me to level 30, and it gave me all high-end gear. Now, the reason why I did that is because I pre-ordered the Warlords of Expansion that's coming out on March 3rd. With that comes a character boost. So from there, you could choose to, do I want, well, I like this game, I got it for $3, let me buy the expansion or buy whatever they offer. And from there, you could either just start off at level 1 and go through the whole Washington, D.C. campaign, or jump right into the Warlords of New York, which obviously takes place in New York. So when using my character boost here, let's take a look at my gear. Now, this can be a little overwhelming because in this game, it's all about stats. Everything is about stats, stats, stats. And every piece of gear, well, has stats. Look on the right-hand side. We have armor, we have headshot damage, we have skill power, we have total armor. Then they have these things called gear sets, right? Let's look at this one here. This one is called Ongoing Directive. Now, it shows on the right-hand side, it's grayed out there, but if I had 3 pieces, well, if I had 2 pieces on, I get plus 25% bleed damage. If I had 3 pieces on, I get emergency position, so forth. I think I've got a few other set pieces here. All right, there's 2 more. All right, so I have another one right here. So if I put this one on, and I put this piece on right here, Ongoing Directive. All right, now I got that bleed damage bonus right here. But you also want to look at a whole bunch of other things. Now, keep in mind, they're going to be revamping this whole thing to make it a whole lot easier to look at and understand whether your gear is good or not. Now, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, under my name, Mesa Sean, you see gear score, 500. After you hit the level cap, then it's all about gear score. So you can see all my gear is 500, but some of the other gear, this piece, let me find another piece that's lower. Okay, that piece was 496. So the goal is to try to get a higher gear score. And usually the higher gear score, it will have better stats. Usually. That's kind of rule of thumb. If we also look on the left-hand side of the screen, we see armor, health, and skill power. Skill power is going to relate to your skills. Now, this game is not just about shooting things, although there's some amazing things, or I'm sorry, some amazing weapons in the game. And actually, I just got this exotic light machine gun, and I love light machine guns. And if we look at the perks here, the main perk is Plague of Outcasts. After hitting the same enemy 5 times, that enemy is inflicted with Plague of Outcasts for 10 seconds. And then whenever an enemy, when I kill one of them, they actually blow up in this smoke. And yeah, it's a really cool weapon. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But you have skills, and right now I have 2 skills right here. And if we go and look, we can see what kind of skills we can scroll through. So in the base of operations, which is the White House right here. Don't worry, I'm going to go through the map in a little bit here. You can go to the Quartermaster and choose different skills to purchase with in-game currency that you acquire over time. So let's take a look at the turret right here. So here's a turret, and now there's different types of turrets. There's like the flame turret, there's a sniper turret, there's a artillery turret. Let's see what else there. There's a drone. There's a drone that's a striker drone. There's a healing drone. There's just all different types. You get the idea. And with the Warlords of New York, there's going to be new skills to get as we track down these rogue agents from Warlords of New York. So for right now, if we go back into my gear, I've got 2 skills. I'm using this little healing thing right here, and that's the Chem Launcher. Now the Chem Launcher can do a number of things to bad guys, but I like to use it to heal myself, because when I'm in a bad situation and I get low on health, I just drop it on the ground and it will start healing me. So moving on here, we have what's called, I guess your specialist, I think we're calling it. So this is like a multi-shot grenade launcher. Now let's go over back right next to the Quartermaster, yeah, specializations. And if we open up the menu here, right now I have Demolitionist selected. So if you go through here, as you work through the game, you acquire points. And you can see I've got pretty much everything maxed out here for the most part, and a few things are locked. Now, it says on the right-hand screen, available points. Now, you can see here, let's say, like this I got maxed out. 15% increased light machine gun damage, right? That's great for me, because I love using light machine guns. 15% increased assault rifle damage. I like using assault rifles. If you like using marksman rifle, you can do that too. There's just tons and tons of different types of guns. In fact, let's see what I've got in my inventory right now. Alright, I've got some machine guns, I've got the Stoner LAMG, I've got an assault rifle, I've got some submachine guns, I've got a couple of marksman rifle, which are really kind of sniper rifles for the most part. And then you can also craft magazines, stocks, barrels, different scopes and things, and they will all give you different bonuses here. Like this one here is the 12x zoom. That'll give me some increased headshot damage.
Ano ang Philippines' driest diaper pants? Huggies Dry Pants. The Philippines' driest diaper pants. Iba talaga ang bonding kapag comfy si baby. Para lagi siyang comfy, I switch to Huggies. Because Huggies Dry Pants is the Philippines' driest diaper pants. Absorbs up to 7 cups of wee-wee and locks it away. Kaya laging
but it will take away from my reload speed. I could do optimal range, critical hit range, and so forth. So there's just tons and tons and tons of customization. But you are probably saying, well, what's to do in the game and how do I get all this loot? Well, here's the map, okay? And as you can see, there's a gazillion things to do. You're going to take over settlements and make them yours. You're going to go to safe houses and you're going to take those over so that you can go there. There's control points that you'll take over. And basically, as you free roam, you're going to run into things nonstop, okay? You're going to run into little hostage situations where 2 people are about to get killed. You take out all the bad guys, you save them, you get a loot drop. There's propaganda broadcasts, and you'll stop the propaganda broadcast, and you'll get some loot, and then you'll also get some XP, and so forth. Now, there's replayable missions. It's kind of like similar games like Destiny, where you have like replayable missions. You've got strongholds, and once you start leveling up and you're past level 30, you start entering what's called world tiers, right? Now, you can see in the top right-hand corner, it says I am in World Tier 5. Look all the way at the top right below my gear scroll, World Tier 5. So what happens is every week a section of this map here gets taken over, and this whole red area is, I believe it's called invaded, right? So everything here just gets really hairy, right? But if you do these activities within the invaded area, you do get different things. Like if we take over this control zone, I get a lot of XP and I get crafting materials. I could do the stronghold here, I get a gear set item, a couple of purple items, and the way the gear goes, and you can't see it, well, you didn't see it because of the fact that I have all high-end stuff, but it's kind of like Destiny where it'll go from, you know, green to blue to purple to yellow, and then the green is going to be your set pieces that have a name on it. But let's go back to the map again. So when we go back to the map, we get out of that menu. Back to the map here. So tons of things to do, things to replay. We'll talk about the Dark Zone in a little bit. There is a, let's see, Stronghold. There is a raid. I tapped out when the raid hit back when the Division 2 launched. That's when I got out of the game. There's a lot of problems with it, especially on console, but I'm on PC right now. If you have the Season Pass, you get kind of the precursor to the Warlords of New York. So there's some new story missions. There's a new Stronghold here. There's a mission here, Coney Island, that I have not done yet. And there's these new things here, which I've never seen before. Find the classified assignment. Okay, looks like rewards some XP, and I'll just go figure out what that is. And you can kind of fast travel around. Let's see what this. Okay, public execution. So right there, if I was to fast travel here and then go over here, something's going down, and I could save these people. If I go here, there's another activity, territory control. I can go do that. I could take over a control point. There's a supply drop I can go try to get. I'm going to get overrun by enemies. There's a resource convoy. So hopefully you're getting the gist right now that there is just tons and tons and tons of things to do. Again, warning, this game is a time eater, okay? Another thing you can do is you get blueprints, and you can actually craft things. So if I go into my inventory here and I go over to resources, I have tons and tons of resources, and that's because I boosted my character. If you start from level 1, you need to acquire all this stuff. Polycarbonate, you've got titanium, electronics, all sorts of stuff here. But as you play through the game, some of the rewards are going to be blueprints. So you go to the crafting station here, and let's say I wanted to craft this weapon right here, the Police M4 replica. Well, it'll take, we could see on the right-hand side, I've got crafting, I've got E-credits I can use, I've got plenty to do. So you know what, let's just do one right now. Now, if we look at the bottom there, it says random bonus, random talent, random everything, this and that. So, you know what, let's just go craft one and see what we get. And it should all be random in terms of its stats. Now this game has all different types of perks. Alright, so let's look on the right hand side. What do we got? We have fast hands. Critical hits add a stack of 5% reload bonus, max stack of 30. Optimize, plus 15% weapon handling. Recharged, while equipped skills deploy at full armor, have plus 25% duration, charges, and ammo. Alright, I mean, well, in a nutshell, there's a challenge. I can call it first, but now I can accept that weapon, and then if I go back into the menu here, I can craft a whole bunch of different things. You can craft armor too. You can craft different types of scopes, and I think some of this stuff is even locked out for me. If I scroll down here, yeah, all right. So I need to alright, right here it says unlock at vendors, projects, or by beating an alert level 4 control point. Then I can unlock this EXP S3 hollow site. So there's a lot of crafting involved, but if you're early on playing the game, I would avoid crafting anything, because you're going to get tons and tons and tons of loot drops, and you're going to dismantle a lot of stuff. Now, there will be vendors here, too.
I will always protect you.
Wow.
Would you like a rose?
And they're going to be all over the place, okay? They're going to be at a lot of the safe houses and a lot of different places. You can see here, I can buy with these division credits or whatever they're called here. But I would avoid doing any of that stuff, because most of the weapons, armor, things like that, you're going to get all from loot drops. And if we go back into our inventory, looking at our gear, we can mod it also. So here I could throw in some different mods here. All right, so here's a mod right here. I get plus 1% weapon damage, plus 4% optimal range, plus 2% damage to armor. Alright, that comes in pretty handy sometimes. You'll also go to the Quartermaster if you're early on and starting with level 1, and you're going to use what's called Shade Tech to unlock all of these different things here. And they kind of come in like tiers here. And like, let's say for the magazines here, there's tier, well, the magazine 1, 2, 3, 4. You start unlocking them because there'll be different magazines that fit different weapons. And that's the same thing with the scopes, with the sights, and so forth. You can carry more med kits or armor kits, I'm sorry. Because this game's not about health, it's about your armor. Because you'll see you have health, but you have armor. And I use the skill, my little chem launcher that will heal myself to get me out of a pickle. But then if I am taking really some serious damage, I will use one of those armor kits to give me my health back. You can go in really in depth here and take a look at your stats, and it'll show you pretty much what you're rolling with here if we keep scrolling down here. So these are all the different bonuses of what I have equipped right now. So it's got my PvP weapon damage, which will lead us into our next topic right here. Critical hit damage, headshot damage, range, reload time. We've got offense, and yeah, there's a lot of stats. But look, don't get overwhelmed by this stuff if you're brand new, because they're going to be changing this stuff up and make it easier for you to understand what exactly it is that you want to accomplish when putting on different pieces of gear. So let's go back here, put my exotic on that I just got right there. I got that from the Dark Zone. And let's go back to putting on my ACR. I was having fun with the ACR before. So let's talk about PvP. Now, there is conflict, and you could just jump in and play some PvP. I don't. I like what's called the Dark Zone. Now, to me, the Dark Zone, and I've said this for a very long time, the Dark Zones is pretty much the most unique player experience I've ever had in a game. That's why I would always pray that Destiny would bring some sort of Dark Zone into the game. The Dark Zone is, in a nutshell, you go to the Dark Zone, there's going to be multiple landmarks, there will be a boss, and you will then go in there and you will loot these places, right? You'll clear a landmark, you will get a loot drop, but you will find items that drop, and it could be exotic, it could be high-end, it could be whatever, set pieces, and then you have to extract it. So then you have to go to a helicopter, you have to call it in, and then you have to tie it to the rope, and then you have to wait, and then the helicopter will take it away. Now, in the Dark Zone, that's where some more PvP comes into play, because you can go what's called rogue, or other people can go rogue as well. And what they do is, let's say you have a bunch of contaminated gear, you need to get it out by chopper. Well, they can go rogue, kill you, steal your loot, and then go extract it, and now they have your loot. But then some of the drops that you get from clearing a boss, they're not contaminated, and they'll go right into your inventory. Now, the Dark Zone's a fun place, especially if you're with friends, because you can go in and just clear a bunch of landmarks and then say, hey, let's go troll and just start killing everyone on the server and do some PvPing and have some fun. But they said in the upcoming updates that they're going to reward you for actually helping people and kind of being that good guy. If someone's extracting and you have nothing to extract, that, okay, you can go help them out and go protect them, because when you're trying to call in an extraction, ads will spawn, agents will come in, because when you try to extract something, the
good advice can make a lifetime of difference. The right decisions at the right time with QNB.
Give me 45 seconds and I'll show you how this kid managed to manifest $1 million business by 19 years old.
the whole server or people are alerted that an extraction is going down. So that's when agents start coming there, and you're going to run into people who all they want to do is PvP. So they're going to come in and they're going to try to kill you just for no reason whatsoever. And the Dark Zone has its own perks, it has its own leveling system, it has its own currency, and as you play the Dark Zone, you level up in the Dark Zone. If you die while you're rogue, you lose XP in the Dark Zone, and it's a really, really fun player experience. So that's just kind of my high-level overview and kind of beginner starter guide on this game. Guys, I was thoroughly addicted to the Division 1. I was thoroughly addicted to the Division 2 when it first came out for about a good first 4 or 5 months. And then when the raid came out, or maybe it was even less than that, I don't know. Kind of tapped out, but as Gathalion said on Twitter, and he and I think a few other content creators have played all this stuff early, they said it's the Division 2 of King of Kings, referring to that it's the best update that this game will ever have. So, great time to jump in if you tapped out early on. Great time to just buy the game for $3 if you're in the United States, but let me know what the price is where you are, depending on what place you live, and not so. I am in Babel mode, which means you got to leave me a good old hashtag. Made it to the end, and if you have any other questions, leave them in the comment section, and maybe I'll make a second video. Let me know if you want to make some more Division
Evita que los malos olores se tagueen en tu ropa. Con el nuevo suavizante Downy concentrado, que con sus cápsulas de perfume te protege de malos olores.
Everyone has to quit a game sometime or another for whatever reason, but it's the people who abuse the system and rage quit that can be punished. And we've got 7 examples of those types of punishments right here. So let's get started off with number 7. Being that Apex Legends is primarily a squad-based game, it makes sense that there would have to be some sort of penalty for quitters, since leaving your squad down a player puts them at a distinct disadvantage, and it's really just a dick move in general. I mean, Apex Legends matches aren't that long. I mean, like, you could deal with it. Anyway, back in April, a feature that was being tested to punish frequent quitters accidentally rolled out early to the player base in players noticed that if they dropped out of game 3 times in mid-match, there was a 5-minute cooldown that would prevent them from joining a new game. They would have to wait. The idea being that the penalty would have escalating time limits based on the amount of times a player would quit. Now, as of Apex Legends Season 3, the feature has been rolled out officially, complete with escalating penalties. 3 quits gets you a 5-minute timeout, a 4th pushes it to 10 minutes, and so on and so forth. It's worth noting that in the case of Apex Legends, it's not intended as a hard rule for anyone who quits any game at any time. It's pretty forgiving based on the circumstances. For example, like if you're in an incomplete squad, there's no punishment for leaving at any point, even if you've already bled out and died. It's just to stop people from dropping out, and that's good. Now next, over at number 6, in March of 2018, Bungie started to ban players in Destiny 2 when they would quit competitive Crucible matches. These bans were only 30-minute bans, and it only banned you from playing competitive specifically. You know, you're not locked out of the entire massive Destiny game. This was a pretty good addition though, because players quitting was at that point a real problem. It was super annoying because if someone quit mid-comp match, your team was down a player and that game won't matchmake a replacement. So a 4v4 game just became a 4v3 game, which gives one team a huge advantage, and it's almost like a guaranteed loss considering how important it is. And seeing that losing affects your rank, it was just like a huge bummer all around. Bungie wasn't going easy on their players either. Like, you could get banned for, and I quote, leaving a match early for any reason, from improper network settings to an idle timeout while getting the door for a food delivery. Now, some might say that is a little rough, but honestly, comp is a big deal. If you're playing comp and you have 3 other people relying on you, and you quitting could not only ruin their experience, their very important game, but also mess with their rank, you know, we think you should be held accountable. But that's just us, of course. For sure there's going to be a lot of conversation about all of these points, so we're looking forward to hearing from you. But let's move over to number 5, because look, man, fighting games are frustrating. We've all been there. We've all seen people just straight up rage quit in the heat of the moment, even in the competitive scene. It just happens. That being said, sometimes it happens too much, and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 wanted to try to handle the problem in a different way than just preventing people from joining matches or outright banning players. Instead, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 players who rage quit too many times are removed from the general population of players and instead thrown into a separate hopper for matchmaking. What that means is that basically all of the players deemed serial rage quitters will then only be able to matchmake against players who are also in the same crop. Now, we're not sure how that side of the game is since we've never rage quitted enough to be thrown in, so the effectiveness of the punishment is still up in the air. You know, they might be over there in their own little bubble, but as someone who's had people just disconnect from the match and block purposefully, it really does feel like a really funny and ironic way to punish the game's worst offenders. Here's a crazy recent one from Gears 5 that kind of inspired us to make this video in the first place. We had a pretty interesting conversation in the office about it. It's been making headlines, and for a very interesting reason. So basically, the Coalition, the developers of the newer Gears games, and most recently Gears 5, put out this tweet in October, and I quote, "Quitters have been receiving month to year-long suspensions for prior behavior. This is how long you can be suspended for being a rampant quitter. Take heed. Over the next few hours, impacted users will be unsuspended, but 1 quit away from suspension. You have been warned." First of all, I think it's really cool that like they did it, they pushed it really hard, and then said, all right, we'll give you guys one more shot. You've seen how bad and how shitty it can be, so that's your last chance. And also, basically, that reads out is straight up playing hardball and taking no prisoners with people abusing quitting in multiplayer. It's aggressive, to say the least. People initially freaked out, but it needs to be noted here that they said, and I quote, rampant quitters. Note that. People who are downright practically spamming. I mean, a developer actually responded in a thread to a concerned player and looked up and called out an account that had 18 of 21 matches quitted just in that day alone. So it's definitely people who are rampantly abusing this system. Frankly, I think almost everyone is safe from this. Most players, like even people who quit a game because their kid fell down the stairs, doesn't seem like you really have to worry about that unless your kid is falling down the stairs 30 times in 24 hours. Matchmaking and everyone having a good experience really serious. Of course, this begs the question, how do you feel about this? This example is definitely one of the most aggressive, so I think that's also why it might end up being one of the most divisive. Well, moving over to number 3, like we said earlier, rage quitting is just a fact of life when it comes to playing fighting games sometimes competitively online. It's just a shitty thing that happens often, and you have to live with it. Fortunately, though, Capcom has been pretty interested in combating it, and they did it for MVC, and in Street Fighter V, some players believe they were punished for rage quitting by taking league point hits in ranked play. For some background, in Street Fighter V, you earn league points in ranked play, which you could accumulate as you won, with losses causing you to lose some and the total number of league points dictating your rank tier, with Rookie being 0 to 499, Platinum rank all the way up at 7,500. A lot of victories gaining you around 10 points. During the launch window for the game, some players in Street Fighter V who have been identified as rage quitters have been seeing some drastic reductions in their league points totals. With one player in particular dropping from around 5,300 league points all the way down to 500 overnight, which is like a hell of a deal. A lot of people assumed it was a new official punishment. Street Fighter V producer Koichi Sugiyama said in an interview that Capcom didn't implement any sort of punishment like that, and that identifying rage quitters separate from all the various server issues during the launch period would have been incredibly difficult. So overall, who can know for sure? But it's still interesting, and we wanted to talk about it here because it was an issue that cropped up in the community, and ultimately, maybe it left some rage quitters to sleep a little less soundly for a minute. It's kind of funny. I don't know. Anyway, next at number 2, there were some changes made to Team Fortress to better enforce players that were quitting matches. Honestly, I'm super into how Valve handled this. They understand that sometimes you have to quit, sometimes your internet goes out, or you gotta let the dog out, or you have to poop. You know, poop happens, or I should have said shit happens. But as soon as it starts to become a thing that you're repeatedly doing, Valve will jump in and punish you for it. And their punishment is kind of like one of those satisfying instant karma videos you see. Like, if you keep on quitting games, you'll get thrown into and it's called a low priority pool. And there you will experience longer matchmaking time. So the way matchmaking works, the longer you wait for to actually get into a game and play. And if that isn't justice, I don't know what is. They also allow you 3 minutes to rejoin a game with your spot being held on the server. Or your connection, you have 3 minutes to jump back in before the game recognizes you as officially quitting. This is a genius move if you ask us, and it seems like everybody can be treated pretty fairly. Shout out to Valve. Guys, make it. Now finally down to number 1, our personal favorite example of an early quit, especially is quitalities. A finishing move first pioneered in Mortal Kombat X, where they can happen during an online match only, where a player leaves the match before the end of the winning round. You know, like a cow. Makes your opponent's head explode, and then you get the on-screen announcement. Mortal Kombat 11 updated it with a little bit of variety. A little ice explode, get impaled on a rock, typical Mortal Kombat stuff. It's just really overall an incredibly Mortal Kombat way of taking out a little bit of anger and frustration out on someone who quits on you. It's simple, it's quick and dirty, and at the very least it can give you a little bit of closure or resolution to what was otherwise a fight that was going great until it was suddenly cut short. Now at least you can explode the person on the other end that quit. But of course, these are some quit punishment examples that we thought were pretty amusing or just otherwise interesting, and now we want to hear from you guys down in the comments. There are more examples out there of how games have creatively handled So we would love to hear from you, personal examples, anything at all. Maybe you are a rampant quitter yourself. We'd love to hear from you as well. Whoever you are, if you've ever dealt with anything like this, or if you love these types of stories, let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video and maybe learned something, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We'd really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing and hitting that notification.
Hello there, lovely people who enjoy lovely things. My name is Rach, and in both real life and in video games, the progression from noob to pro is always incredibly rewarding. I mean, I'm not quite at the pro level yet with life, but we'll get there eventually. The sense of achievement in practicing new skills and abilities to become the stuff of legend is brilliant. But sometimes the game allows you to experience some of these earlier than expected. It could be a type of character class that you pick up right at the start of your adventure, or perhaps a perk that swings the odds massively in your favour. It doesn't necessarily mean that the game is going to be a breeze from here on in, but it's always nice to get that early helping hand. Sometimes these exploits get balanced or patched out entirely, and sometimes developers leave them in to help players finish the story. Whatever the reason, accidental or intended, here are a pick of some early game abilities that you can exploit to your advantage. I love me some video game cheese. Welcome back to What Culture Gaming. These are 10 early video game abilities that change everything. Number 10, Pyromancy, Dark Souls 3. Considering the lineage that the fabled From Software series has for being ridiculously hard, there are a few ways to make it slightly easier for yourself right at the very start. At least in Dark Souls 3. Much like the first game, in which you could partially cheese your way through if you invested enough points into being a magic user, Dark Souls 3 had a similar boost. Pyromancy, or the art of burning things, allows you to cast fireballs at enemies right from the start, whilst staying back a safe distance away from harm. It's a great boost if you're not feeling brave enough to charge in with a sword and shield right from the bat, especially on that introductory Eudex Gundyr fight and the frosty doggo of the Boreal Valley, Vort. Number 9, Deflecting Arrows, The Witcher 3. Arrows reportedly travel at speeds of up to 150 miles an hour. Given that most cars struggle to make that speed, that is fast. Before they were largely replaced with guns and other high-speed ammunition, arrows were the go-to in ballistic firearms back in the day. So it's quite remarkable that Geralt of Rivia can not only block incoming arrows with a piece of metal about 4 inches wide, but put enough points into the deflection skill and he'll return them to sender as well. Whilst not immediately available, it doesn't take long to be able to put points into the arrow deflection skill, where you will be so grateful you did. For you see, archers here are a crafty bunch, choosing to stand around on the edge of your vision and only make themselves known when there's already an arrow protruding from your chest. What better way to teach them a lesson than by casually deflecting their shots? Number 8, Fear Takedown, Batman Arkham Knight. The breakthrough smash success of Batman Arkham Asylum back in 2009 had some absolutely stellar selling points going for it, one of which was the, at the time, revolutionary combat system, and of course with each iteration it needed to be improved upon for fear of becoming stagnant. By the time the third game of the trilogy rolled in, stealth takedowns and combat breakdowns were the norm, so something new had to be introduced. So we had the Fear Takedowns, Batman's upper hand assist in getting the drop on several enemies at once. Put some points in early enough and the Dark Knight can take up to 5 enemies out in one chain. Considering a lot of the smaller interiors only held about half a dozen enemies, you'd be laughing after taking out the majority with ease. It gets a bit harder to do in the later stages of the game when enemies have all their upgraded gear, but as an early game changer, it gave Bats and the player quite the advantage. Number 7. Blink. Dishonored/Dishonored 2. Dishonored, if you're unfamiliar, is a series based around playing in your own way. You could be a silent assassin, or a force to be reckoned with, or merely an inquisitive explorer looking for all the tasty loot. This is largely in part to the powers granted to Corvo and Emily, that can be chosen and upgraded by the player. These range from more health, bodies disappearing on stealth kills, to even control over hordes of rats. But the first, and most often used, ability grants to you is this skill lets you cover distances with a blink of an eye. I get it. To either avoid combat, explore, or zip behind enemies to take advantage of their confusion. Sink enough points into Blink early enough and you can cover even further distances and climbs. It made stealthing through levels so much easier, as well as escaping combat if it ever got overwhelming. Number 6. Multi-Shot. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The Assassin's Creed series has reinvented itself a couple of times already, but one thing it always tries to mix up is combat. Early iterations were deemed too repetitive and formulaic, so when it was revised for Origins and Odyssey, fans were impressed at the improvements. With the revision came challenge. Enemies this time had weight to the challenge of taking them out. Some players took to the challenge, whilst some weren't quite expecting the twist. This applied to your chosen character too, as like all games with skills and perks, you had to work your way up to becoming that ancient badass of history. But if you ever fancy your hand at bow over blade, or like getting the drop on enemies, then an early investment would be the multi-shot skill. Similar to Batman's Fear takedown skill, you could target up to 4, 6, or even 8 enemies with every level. It was a great advantage to deal massive damage to an unsuspecting crowd, or even stall a group of attackers in the middle of combat. Number 5. Just roll with it. Days Gone. As mentioned in the rules of the first Zombieland film, cardio is important. Zombies at the best of times may not be as scary individually, but there is definite strength in numbers. When you then get running zombies, the stakes are even higher. So it may seem like evasion would be top on the list of Deacon St. John's abilities. But not quite. Sure, he can sprint for a limited time, but it seems the combat roll works his core a bit too much to begin with. Put some points into the Just Roll With It perk as soon as you can, and you'll make life easier for the farmer biker. With less of a drain on stamina, it allows our grumpy anti-hero a bit of a reprieve each time he gets overwhelmed by a group of hungry zombies. Sure, it won't save you against the on-screen hordes, but it will help in getting that footing towards escape, or back to your bike. Number 4. Mikiri Counter. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. The one-armed wolf doesn't have an easy time in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Stripped of all he knows and left for dead, as well as having an arm lopped off, he's got to rebuild himself if he's to fulfill his promise to guard Lord Kuro. It's not an easy start for his adventure, as most enemies turn you into a pancake quickly enough, without even mentioning unblockable attacks. Thrusting attacks from foes can easily be lethal, or at least deal some hefty damage. Turn the tables on them with the Mikiri counter early on though, and you'll be the one making pancakes. I'll take bacon on mine. Facing an enemy as they strike only to stamp their blade or spear into the floor and wreak havoc on their posture is a godsend. Whilst the game isn't impossible without it, it's a worthy investment so early on, giving Sekiro a bit more of a fighting chance. Don't be afraid to use it on bosses either. It's the perfect thing to inject a healthy dose of confidence into a very difficult game. Number 3. Perfect Hit. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man, much like the Batman games, features a combat system that relies on you being quick on your feet. Again, like Bats, Spidey also has an arsenal of gadgets and takedowns that he can use too. Whilst these come at a cost to use, they are replenished by the focus meter. This gauge allows Spider-Man to use the different abilities his variety of suits grant, perform single-hit takedowns on enemies, or restore health when needed. How does this get replenished, you might be wondering? Why, by hitting people, of course. Yet, whilst it is essential, it can be a bit of a slow burn, especially in times of crisis. However, help is at hand with the perfect difficulty. Time your hits just right, and not only add a double hit to your combo meter, but also fill the focus meter up quicker too. This in turn means that our weapons heal strikes quicker, or have his health replenished just that wee bit sooner. Just time those strikes just right, and you're golden. Number 2. Dialogue perks. The Outer Worlds. It might seem weird that in a list populated by skills commonly associated with combat, that conversation would be here too, but bear with me. For whilst the Outer Worlds does have an impressive combat and skill system, the greatest gift that you can give yourself early on is the gift of the gab. Unlike series contemporaries like Fallout, the Outer Worlds doesn't have a strict morality system like they do. So by fibbing your way out of something or trying to strong-arm someone into giving you information carries no real consequence. Sure, you might annoy the person that you're harassing, but the game isn't going to give you a bad ending for it. So don't be afraid to invest some early points into the power of persuasion. Become a silver-tongued savior, or just flat out bully people to uncover some easier options of play. Of course, don't completely neglect combat skills, but having some bonus points in cunning linguistics will make dealing with the many inhabitants of the Outer Worlds a lot easier. Number 1. Slowing time. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. The Force is a strange one when you think about it. No two Jedi are ever granted the exact same skills. Object manipulation, clairvoyance, even mild brainwashing are all up for grabs. But for former Jedi in training Cal Kestis, a lot of his powers lay dormant in the early hours of the new Star Wars title. Despite being lucky enough to escape the purge of Order 66, Cal has been in hiding ever since, trying to maintain a low profile. Whilst his skills are initially limited, he does have the incredible ability to keep his enemies and projectiles in place for a short time. However, invest some more points into this to unlock more potential, like stopping enemies in place for longer, that extra reprieve in battle. Granted, there are better powers to learn down the line, but for the uninitiated players not used to the combat, it's a real neat little gift to abuse early on. It won't get you completely out of trouble, but it will grant some valuable evasion time. And that's our list. Thank you so much for watching. Please do add any others we may have missed in the comments.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Force here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Volsin, I'm sorry, I'm so bad with names. This is a upcoming hack and slash ARPG with a very dark gothic style. It's got a combat system featuring weapon-based combos, stances, dodge and dash mechanics, and a willpower and rage resource system. There's classless progression where you select a path through 21 subclasses in a rotating passive skill tree. Over 40 skills with numerous modifiers, this apocalyptic form. At launch, there will be 3 acts with a fully voiced campaign, 75 different enemy types, 11 armor and weapon tiers, character customization, crafting. The game supports solo and co-op play, and this is a game that I've talked about in the past, and really I've been keeping my eye on it for a while. So today I want to take you through some gameplay and show you my experience with the first couple of hours. This is a sponsored video. They recently reached out and asked if I wanted to get an early look at the full build, the final release version of the game. Since I was already interested in it, I said yes, but I get because it's sponsored that people will be wary of opinions. So for that reason, with sponsored videos like this, I'm gonna try to keep most opinions out of it and really just showcase and talk about the game. So in this video, I'm gonna take you through the first couple of hours. I played for like 2.5 hours, and I wanna show you the various bits of gameplay, some of the more interesting moments, and just kind of give you a good overall idea of what the game is all about. Of course, if you like what you see, click on that link, helps me a ton, but otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy the gameplay. Check out this brand new ARPG, Volsin. Fucking. All right, let's check out this game. Brand new game, Volsin, Lords of Mayhem. We're gonna just go through and play a little bit, make a character, and see what we think. They do have some character customization. I generally just cannot be bothered, so let's just make this quick. Okay, yeah, perfect. Weapons. Oh, shoot, I gotta start off picking a class type, kind of, or weapon. I feel like magic's usually a pretty good choice, right? Let's try, oh shit, look at that. Okay, cool. All right, left click to move around. Holy shit, dude, look at this. Look at this armor design. There's a power attack, there's my left click, and then space to dodge roll.
Look, a Republican pup is trying to flank us.
Okay.
How?
Get wrecked, bro. Oh, shoot. Wait a second. I'm very confused. Did I pick a caster? My dude is not a caster. So I'm guessing once I go through this tutorial, I'll go into caster mode, right? Jesus, dude. What is going on? You alright, bro?
What the hell happened here?
Hey, soldier, you alright? Where's the rest of your squad? Soldier?
I don't think he's alright, guys.
Who's alone?
Does no one else notice the rune perfectly encapsulating his body? Rather intense. This game's got quite the dark vibe to it, huh? Oh man, my soul. Ooh. Alright, here we go. I don't know, bro. My wings are bigger than yours, so. Okay, yeah, that was kind of a cool intro there. You can dig it. Alright, but seriously though, I clicked on caster, didn't I? Ah, yes, now I have the staff. Where did I get the staff from?
How is it that I can use witchcraft now?
Yeah, that's a good question, dude. Doesn't make any sense, exactly. Staff's power, cast a projectile. I can hold shift to, okay. Animations are looking pretty good here to start. I can dig that, okay. And then I got a fireball. Summons a fireball, launch in a straight line. Oh, look at that. Consult your active skills by pressing S. I'm trying to read the tutorial, but I get my ass beat. Wow. Okay, one fireball does it.
Valeria!
Okay, it looks like the basic attack to do is increase stamina. Cool, dude. Damn. Look, I know this is a sponsored video, so you cannot believe it. Freaking animations and stuff, dude. Looking good to start, I gotta say. So what happens if I put on a melee weapon? Okay, I gain a basic attack, but I lose access to my fireball. I see. This basic attack is kicking ass. Is there a difficulty setting or something? It's all part of the tutorial. It's probably supposed to be easy to start. My basic attack ricochets too? I don't even feel like I need to use my fireball right now. My basic attack is destroying these people. Nice looking set pieces. Oh, camera pans back a bit too for these sections. That's interesting.
Oh,
here we go.
Sprayer. They do come in every shape. They die all the same.
It's pretty damn easy to start. That was a boss of some sort, and he died in less than 5 seconds. But I'm just going to assume that maybe the first playthrough, and the fact that it's just the tutorial, is incredibly easy right now.
Anyone else want to fight for Stormfall? No. That's what I thought.
That was easy. All I had to do was say I was gonna fight. Oh, geez, what am I unlocking? 2 things at a time? Guys, don't overwhelm me, please. So everything goes up when we level, and then I get 10 points to spend. I'm gonna just start off with critical score chance. I think I want health to be secondary. There'll be some sort of meta for how I should be doing this at some point, but right now I don't know. So I can spend points in nodes, and then I think these layers of the wheel, so I can my build style as melee weapon damage, projectile damage, melee weapon damage, maximum health, force shield, spell damage, ailment damage. Let's go with the spell damage. Start working towards that. I'm gonna be focusing on caster. Okay. Well, I'm not gonna go through and read all this stuff, but yeah, make yourself better in the various aspects of RPG gameplay. You guys get me a picture. I'm sure there's a wiki. I'm not gonna spend 50 minutes of this video. Okay, so it looks like we got some vendors and stuff here. Talk to Mojave. Ooh, choose my reward. So when I can get a blue staff. Ice Nova emanates around you in 2 seconds. Pick Frostnova. And I right click it. Oh, look at this. So I was using Consuming Embers and it's been leveled up 2.5. Great. And then there are these skill modifiers. Increase damage, reduce willpower cost, and these are unlocked as I progress through the levels.
I need someone for a mission. You got what it takes?
Come on, men! Let's earn our keep!
Ready? Here we go.
Tunnelers! Protect the cannon! To the north! Push them back into the ground!
I'm gonna use my frost over here. Let's use it right now. How'd that work? That works pretty good. I think I did it, right? Oh, no. More. Oh, wait. Okay, so now that we've made it through the very, very intro, I'm most certainly not one-shotting everything anymore. And I'm actually taking some damage. Whoa! So
Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. This is the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Lite, and it takes the S Pen of Samsung's most expensive flagship and offers it in a more people do prefer a flat screen. The phone is pretty conservative looking compared to the Note 10. It opts out of the rainbow gradients and instead brings a dark finish with a rounded form factor. There's one feature some might miss here, and that's water resistance, which of course you do get with the regular Note 10 flagships. Going back to the display, it's a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED with a 1080p resolution, and a punch hole cutout for the selfie cam. You get great performance here, as expected. Even though this is a bit of a downgrade compared to a QHD screen, sharpness is still good and colors are punchy. If you want, you can tune them to be quite accurate in color settings too. Max brightness is good, compared to other Samsung mid-rangers. We're looking at 400 nits max with the manual slider, and up to 620 nits with auto brightness and direct sunlight. The Note 10 Lite has an optical fingerprint reader under the display to wake up and unlock the phone with. It's not as fast as the competition, though it's still quite usable. One of the main features of the Note 10 Lite, or any Note phone, is its S Pen stylus. If you're looking for a modern phone with a stylus to draw or take down notes with, this is one of the more affordable options out there. And aside from pressure-sensitive scribbling, the S Pen can also
With the past decade seeing remarkable growth for the mobile economy, what are highlights of 2019? People around the world generally spend 3.7 hours per day in mobile, creating 204 billion downloads and $120 billion consumer spend.
Hi guys, it's ASBYT and welcome to a brand new video. Now I review many different smartphones on this channel, high-end flagships, mid-rangers and some budget options as well. Now of course a lot of budget options are, let's be honest, a bit poop. But this right here might just be the best budget smartphone that you can buy right now in 2020. So without further ado, for under £150, let's see exactly what we get. Let's get straight to it. So this right here is the Lenovo Z5S, and yes, elephant in the room, Lenovo have had a slightly shady marketing strategy past, but that might be the reason that this little gem now sells for about 140 UK pounds, using the link in the video description. Inside the box we have the phone, a case, which is nice, and the charger and charging cable. Now this phone has been out for a little while, but spec-wise, which we'll get to of course, it's insanely good for the price, as is the build quality for a budget phone. Buttons aside, which are a little bit wobbly for my liking, this looks and feels a lot more expensive than it actually is. It has a metal and glass finish in an overall design shape that is very reminiscent of the leaked iPhone 12 chassis. The squarer finish to the edges from the swathes of rounded smartphones is quite a refreshing change and something I think we'll see more of this year. Type-C charging port on the bottom, next to that mono bottom firing speaker, which is definitely loud enough, but it struggles to offer the quality and clarity of current flagships. The rear design is certainly eye-catching in this tangerine colour, but there's a more subtle kind of dark grey colour if the orange is just a little bit too much for you. Top left we have a triple camera setup which includes a 16 megapixel f1.6 aperture primary lens, an 8 megapixel f2.4 aperture telephoto lens with 2x optical zoom, and a 5 megapixel f2.4 aperture depth sensing lens as well, for those portrait shots which we'll get to. Now for normal photos it's certainly usable, and in good lighting you can get some really nice shots. But to be honest, a lot of the results you will see you would expect from a budget phone camera. So if there's not too much movement, you get some pretty sharp looking shots, but certainly if you're moving or in slightly lower light, the results are far less impressive. Now the fingerprint scanner is also present on the back, and it's not brilliant, but it does the job, as does the 2D face unlock, using that 16 megapixel f2.0 aperture camera that's housed in the water drop notch on the front display. Selfies using the camera are not the best, lacking in sharpness and detail, and there's a weird kind of software skin smoothing that occurs with Gorilla Glass, but by skin over the top plus phones, but it's a really solid mid to upper range chip. And I can't think for browsing the internet, gaming, and looking for below. So if you want more information or tech in general, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel.
So here's the thing about 2020, there's gonna be a lot of brand new expensive smartphones coming onto the market, but there's also gonna be a lot of very attractive, affordable phones under $500. And these 500 and lower smartphones are gonna have 90 to 95% of the features and performance of the more expensive ones. We are so far ahead in terms of hardware that devices from previous years feel just as fast as the devices that are being released today. The software that we're using on our phones are not pushing them hard enough to make them feel slower. And I feel like if you're gonna be buying a phone and you want the best value out of it, you should really take a hard look at $500 and lower. So the first phone that I'm super excited about is definitely the OnePlus 8 Lite. This is OnePlus taking the best features of the OnePlus 8 that's coming out and cramming it into a more affordable form factor. This device is going to have a flat screen, which is preferred over the 7 Pro. You're going to have a 6.4-inch AMOLED display. Refresh rate, like, think about it. 90 Hz on a sub $500 smartphone is unheard of unless it's a phone from a previous year that was discounted. Not only are you going to have the sweet effect of smooth scrolling and better gaming, it's going to be affordable. And that's a very important feature. Now, for those of you out there who think like 120 Hz is going to be that much better, trust me, it's not. 90 Hz for 2020 is the sweet spot. You're going to save a lot of battery and it's going to feel just as good. Another sweet point is 2 to 3 cameras on the back, so you'll have access to a wide, ultra wide, and possibly telephoto lens. And this is a device that's going to have a big battery, 4,000 milliamps, which makes me think combining that with a full HD display, you're going to get better battery life than the OnePlus 7 Pro. So if you're a smartphone camera enthusiast, you're gonna wanna wait for the Pixel 4a. This is Google taking their software, some of the best computational photography, and bringing it down to a more affordable smartphone. It's gonna take the same lens that's on the Pixel 4, only one of them, the main one, and bring it into a $400 price point. The 4a is only gonna have one lens, but it's still gonna take great photos. You're still gonna get great things like portrait mode, which is gonna look absolutely amazing. The one thing I love about the 4a based on these leaks is the actual design. This is a phone that actually looks better than the Pixel 4. Now, the rumor is they might only release one version of this, a 5.81 inch, which is slightly bigger than the previous generation, but still like great for one-hand use. The reason why this device is special is because recommended the Pixel 3a2 has had a fantastic experience. And in a lot of ways, it offers a lot more value than the more expensive Pixel 4. So if you're an iOS user who's hanging on to an iPhone SE, iPhone 6 or 6S and wants a budget and small form factor for an upgrade, you're gonna wanna wait for the iPhone SE 2 or iPhone 9. It's coming out hopefully sometime in March, and this is a device that's basically taken the iPhone 8 and updating the internals. If you've seen the iPhone 8, that's exactly what the iPhone 9 or SE 2, depending on whatever they call it, is going to look like. Now this is kind of disappointing for some because the design is the same, but the upside to this is not only is the price point going to be lower at $400, you're getting some of the best specs that are currently in the iPhone 11 or 11 Pro. You're getting that A13 chip. You're getting the exact same wide lens that's on the more expensive devices. You're not getting touch, which is being removed across the board, but you will still use haptics to mimic some of those features. Kind of cool though, we're going back to Touch ID, so if you miss the physical interaction of logging into your device, you're going to have that with your portable iPhone. The next one is kind of interesting because it is the Poco phone. Like, this is the second version of it. We don't know too much about this device, but this is a phone that took the world by storm because of the specs and price point. For like around $400, you essentially got the latest specs of 2018, I believe, with some of the best hardware for that price point. And it's rumored that Xiaomi is going to be doing it again with the Pocophone F2. This time we're expecting a Snapdragon 865 or 855 Plus. And the reason being is because the Snapdragon 865 is a bit too expensive and it has 5G, and the Pocophone needs to be more affordable, so it has to use a processor from the previous year. We don't know a lot about it, but we think it might come with 2 to 3 cameras on the back. Just like every other smartphone, you'll have that ultra-wide, wide, and telephoto lens. And last up, for the super budget-conscious individuals, you're going to be wanting to wait for the Moto G8. This is a phone that's going to be priced under $300. $900 have pretty decent specs, but run a very clean, stock Android-like experience. That's super important when you're using lower-end processors because it keeps the phone running nice and smooth. Now, as these come with a 6.4-inch HD Plus display, so around 720, not crazy. Snapdragon 665 and around 2 to 4 gigabytes of RAM. I'm fine with that. It's still going to have 3 cameras on the back, so you're going to enjoy that camera experience. Obviously, it's not as good as an iPhone or a Pixel or even a Samsung device in terms of pixel quality, but at least you have access to different focal lengths. Now, the battery's supposed to be very big, 4,000 milliamps. So this is a device paired with a low-efficiency processor. I don't ever expect this thing to die. Like, 2 days of use shouldn't be an issue. Now, that pretty much wraps up some of my favorite, more budget-friendly picks for 2020. Trust me, when you're deciding on a smartphone this year, ask yourself, do you need to buy a $1,000 smartphone? Because some of these more affordable $500 and lower devices are giving you 90 to 95% of the features. Even take a look at devices in the previous year, because usually about now, a lot of these devices are discounted. Trust me, the Snapdragon 855 or any of these processors from previous generations will feel just as fast. Anyways, that wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because if you did, I'd love you to hit the like button, channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Charming.
Ice coffee chocolate?
Gising na siya! Saan man makarating ang usapan? Para dyan. Wow! Look, guys! Ganda ng view. Oh, di ba?
This is Todd. Hi. This is Todd's mom. In a moment, Todd's mom will read her son's internet browsing. What? Allow, please.
Supermodels on trampolines.com. Why don't girls like me?
Do you have any idea what the best-selling smartphone in early 2019 was? Maybe the Samsung Galaxy S10, or maybe the OnePlus 7 Pro? Actually, no, and they were far from it. The number one spot was taken by the $150 Samsung Galaxy A10. Number two was another one of their mid-range phones, the A50. And in fact, in this entire list of top-selling Android phones, not a single one was a flagship. This might be a bit of a surprise. The flagships are the phones you always hear about first. They're the ones you see all the flashy reviews about. But this mid-range category has exploded in recent years, and what's even more interesting is where it's going. Oh yeah, and a huge thanks to Surfshark VPN for being the sponsor of this video. So, just for some context, when smartphones began, there were just each company had a $400 to $500 offering with all the bells and whistles, and the game was all about trying to make the best iPhone killer. Over the years though, these flagships got more expensive, and in no uncertain terms. That $500 very quickly became $700, and soon enough $1,000 and beyond. As Android became more capable, though, and the chipsets more powerful, the budget smartphone became possible. Companies were able to sell something for $100 to $200, which could just about get stuff done. There were noticeable compromises, but just the concept of being able to use Facebook, WhatsApp, the Android market, having only invested $100 was really cool. But then, over the coming years, we start to notice something. Flagship phones were getting more expensive, yes, but budget phones were different. They appealed to the kind of consumer who is more sensitive to price changes, and so companies couldn't raise prices without losing sales. This created a massive gap. Enter the mid-range smartphone. You might have been surprised when I told you earlier that the best-selling phones now are consistently mid-ranges, because here on YouTube and on the internet in general, everyone talks about the flagships. Well, the reason for that is, frankly, flagships are interesting. Every tech head wants to learn about all the cool new camera features Samsung's going to release on their next Galaxy flagship, but you'll probably only learn about their mid-range phones if you are specifically planning on buying them. Flagships are where the majority of a company's research and investments go, but I've got 5 reasons why, even then, people are switching from these flagships to mid-ranges. Number 5. China. Let's say Samsung was the only smartphone company out there. They could build their mid-range phones such that they are consistently noticeably slower than their flagships. They could make each application open 20% slower. They could make each photo taken consistently lower resolution, and by doing this, encourage people to spend But in the last 5 years, Chinese phones have gotten good. Brands like OnePlus, Realme, Xiaomi, they're making smartphones with practically flagship-grade hardware at mid-range prices, and as they become more available around the world, Samsung's only choice, if they don't want to miss out on this lucrative mid-range market, is to make really good mid-range phones. But that leads on to the next problem for flagships. There are two primary types of competition in markets. The flagship market is governed by feature-based competition. Firms differentiate themselves by making new features, what are essentially optional extras, things like super high-resolution cameras or curved displays, things that tech nerds like me love to play around with, but we pay a big price premium to do so. The mid-range market, though, in part because of this pressure from China, runs on price competition. The primary objective of these smartphones has become to pack all the main features people need into the lowest possible price. And this is bad for companies, but great for consumers. I mentioned earlier that flagships are where a lot of companies' resources and investments go to create new features, but the mid-range is where a lot of those features end up a year later. Anyways, for $400 now, a company is expected to use an upper mid-range processor, a double and usually triple camera setup, offering an experience that is not just close, but often indistinguishable from flagship. And that brings me on to number 3, just before which, if you're enjoying this video, a sub would be amazing. Anyways, with technology, in most cases, we face diminishing returns. An extra 30% power does not make your phone 30% more useful. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of niches that would love to have a phone that's 10 times as powerful, mobile gamers for example, or amateur photographers who are considering ditching their DSLR camera. But for the vast majority of people, the smartphone only exists as a portal for applications. The ability to watch a Netflix show, listen to music, or just flick through Instagram. These users will gain almost nothing from a 20-core CPU or a 200-megapixel Hexa camera setup. When smartphones were in their early stages, each improvement, for example an increase in display resolution or storage speed, would have made these simple tasks noticeably better. But to an average consumer, the improvement is becoming less and less noticeable each day. It is worth making a differentiation that in the professional space, more speed is always better. That's why products like the $50,000 Mac Pro exist. But the smartphone is not that. Professionals use professional equipment, and by mainstream nature, smartphones running on smartphone operating systems are built around the mass market. They're not going to replace these Pro Tools. Number 2, flagships can be worse. And by this, I'm not saying that a $1,000 phone is going to be worse than a $400 to $500 phone from the same company. But there are some characteristics that flagships tend to have that aren't for everybody. They won't ditch the headphone jack, for example, and their displays are often larger and I can manage, but I know for some people will make the device harder to use. In the pursuit of more glamorous form factors to create a better first impression, flagships can end up creating more inconveniences. Having a display that fills the entire front of your phone looks great, but has so far come at the cost of extra thickness and a motorized camera that adds fragility, and you have to wait for each time you want to face unlock. And now, arguably one of the most important things that has enabled this mid-range rise to prominence is actually a psychological trick. Hear me out, this gets pretty deep. From the very beginning of humanity, the very reason we've managed to survive as a species is because we are risk averse. This means we like siding with the safer option. It's the reason most people would prefer to keep their money in a safe bank account as opposed to invest it in risky shares, even if on average they'd be earning more money doing the latter. And this risk aversion translates to our day-to-day decision making. We shy away from extreme options because we feel like if we go down the middle, we can never go too far wrong, and we like to be in the majority. Humans get satisfaction when we do something that is reciprocated by everyone else, so we have a tendency to pick the option that we also think other people will pick. And so, I mentioned it was going to get pretty deep, but the way this translates to phones is we tell ourselves we don't want the cheapest option because the quality won't be good enough, and that we don't need the most expensive, that's a luxury. We feel at ease when presented with the middle ground, especially in this smartphone market because of how little the compromise is with mid-range phones. But there's more. You might have heard that our minds are inherently lazy. It's true. I think a better way of putting it though is that our minds are efficient. They don't like to waste time and energy thinking about things when it can be avoided. And so oftentimes when faced with complex problems, which for a lot of people picking a smartphone can be, we pick the one that will minimize the time taken to decide. Middle makes this very easy for us. Now, I do just want to add one caveat into this whole video. Technological technological progress is not a slope, it's a staircase. We have periods of relative stagnation where we see continuous little improvements, followed by a big shift, another period of small improvements, and then another big thing. And the way I see it working is this. Every time there's a new breakthrough, flagship phones will pull ahead because they have early access to these features. But then as the technology becomes more mature, the mid-range will catch up because global competition will force it to. We've seen this happen when the cell phone turned into the smartphone, and we might be about to see it again with the foldable phone. There is also the other, slightly more gloomy prediction of the future, which suggests that the smartphone market is going to plateau. In this scenario, there is no big change, and as the years go on, phones just start looking like identical slabs of glass, and shopping for a smartphone becomes a bit like shopping for a home appliance, less about upgrading to new and exciting features, more about getting a task done. But personally, I trust that companies will continue to excite us, that flagships will continue leaping ahead and new breakthroughs will happen. We might be near the end of the glass brick form factor, but this technology itself is just getting started. Surfshark VPN is pretty crazy value. You pay $1.99 a month, and that gives you unlimited simultaneous connections. You probably already know that VPNs can keep your browsing secure, especially on public networks, and also that they can help you get around internet censorship in certain regions like China, but Surfshark does a lot more than that. As well as being able to connect to single locations, it allows you to multi-hop or encrypt your data through 2 different servers at the same time. Surfshark can also scan online databases to make sure your emails and passwords haven't been leaked, and let you use something called blind search, an internet search tool with no logs, no tracking, and no ads. 2 of the coolest things here are a built-in ad blocker, which can let you load pages quicker and using less data, and the ability to access 15 different Netflix libraries from around the world. So, check the link in the description and use code BOSS to get an 83% discount. Plus, if you join during the Black Friday campaign, which is still going, there's another 3 months free on top of that. Thanks a lot for watching. My name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you in the next one. In 2019 has seen the highest number ever of interesting and capable smartphones, and so making a video about my
Well, it finally happened, guys. I am in the market for a new laptop because my previous one, my Blade Stealth 2018, decided to off itself. Quite literally. I was sitting in a job interview. I was interviewing, I'm not quitting, don't worry. I was sitting in a job interview and did it just boot up?
Video canceled!
No, that's fine. The issue isn't actually that it won't turn on. The issue is that I can't charge it. Just to clarify that statement a little bit, I plug in my charging cable and it goes, something's shorting, something's wrong with it. It is time for a replacement. So we have assembled a flock, a herd, whatever it is, a bunch of laptops to determine which will be my new daily driver. And there's gonna be quite a few considerations. Screen's gonna be a major factor. I type fast and I type a lot. Battery, form factor, and of course, I would love to have I/O that I can actually use, although it should be noted that I do always carry a dongle because I have just embraced that dongle life, and my dongle's not on me because I'm actually using it for a review that I was working on, but trust me, I almost always carry a dongle. So, in front of me are the 5 candidates. Let's find out which one gets the cheap and expired chocolate rose. 2016, this thing was best before. Speaking of best before, my segue thing has gotten pretty stale now, hasn't it? But I'm gonna keep doing it anyway. This video is brought to you by Ridge Wallet. Ridge Wallet is the sleek way to keep your wallet bulge down with its compact frame and RFID blocking inner plates. Use offer code LTTJuly to get 10% off and free worldwide shipping. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm actually really looking forward to it. So of the 5 Ultrabooks in front of me, some of them we paid for, but some of them were submitted by the manufacturer. Thing is, I don't know which was which. So if I pick one that we paid for, then I'm gonna go with that, and ultimately I'll be buying a notebook for the first time in a while. And if I pick something the manufacturer provided, we'll send the other ones back for refund. But we did it this way to ensure that I wouldn't be able to have any bias as I'm making a selection. Another thing that, this was actually the idea of one of our new writers, was evaluating without actually knowing which device I'm using. So this is my first time standing here in front of this, and I guess apparently they snuck a MacBook in there. So this is a MacBook of some sort. Like, what's the challenge? Do I just sit down and start trying to type something? Wow, those are not very pronounced home row nipples. Oh, wait, there they are. Okay. I really like this keyboard. I did struggle with the backspace, but I think part of it might have been the Duvetine on my hands, so I'm not gonna hold that against it too hard. I'm gonna give this keyboard an 8.5, 9 out of 10. I really like it. This is already a different style of keycaps that I do not necessarily prefer. Accuracy on this one is not bad, but it feels a little bit slower. It's got those kind of borderless square keycaps. This one's like a 7.5 for me. I think I already know what I think of this one, but. Okay, I have the same feedback that I had about this before. I feel like it's really easy to fire off quick bursts, but as soon as I try to type a longer distance, I really struggle to keep up for some reason. Those short keystrokes really don't work well for me. Ooh, these have kind of it's a long travel, but kind of an empty feeling. The really long keystrokes make double characters a little bit tougher on this one, and my weaker fingers, my ring and my pinky fingers, struggle a little bit. It's okay, 7. It's probably the worst one so far. I like this one too. I think it's between, this is an 8.5 for sure. And then, which one was the, oops. Oh, I kind of saw which one that was. Oops. So keyboard test is pretty clear to me. This one and this one stand above the crowd. This one is shortly behind. This is shortly behind that. And this is honestly probably somewhere in this territory as well for me, because I do a lot of sort of short bursty typing as I'm thinking, you know, go. Now our content consumption test might end up telling me even more that I need to know about these things, because at this point in time, I would have a hard time switching to something without a touchscreen. So this one has one. That's good to know. I would describe the speakers as okay. It's not nearly as oversaturated as contestants 2 and especially 4 are, but it doesn't look as good as the MacBook. So the ones on the end, I'd say are the closest to the MacBook, with these two trailing behind. Yeah, you can see there's a lot of green in the water here. Oh right, it's a MacBook. Derp. Speakers are sort of samey across the board so far. Touchscreen, good, good. This is the worst offender as far as the oversaturation goes. Honestly, this one's speakers sound like they're doing a bit of weird tuning. It's a little harsh sounding. As far as content consumption goes, it's clearly the ones at the end or the MacBook. I mean, you can calibrate the display, but I want the one that is as neutral and accurate as possible out of the box. I know for a fact Brandon wouldn't shoot anything that looks like that. So with that out of the way, the next part of the challenge is apparently for me to find out exactly what all of the notebooks are and identify them. So that's definitely a MacBook Air. Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, I saw that one, so I'm gonna guess the one with the good display but subpar keyboard is an HP Spectre. I don't know who to blame for this poorly calibrated display over here. You know what? I'm gonna throw LG under the bus, and I'm gonna guess that that's a Razer Blade Stealth, and I don't think there's a Surface Laptop keyboard. Let's find out what's actually back here, though. Wow, that was a Surface Laptop too. Ooh, I gotta say, I don't think its keyboard is as god tier as Alex does. This was an LG Gram. Ooh, LG. I was hoping I was wrong about you. And that's a Blade Stealth. So actually, the thing I didn't have was the Spectre X360. I did get the rest of them right though. So the next step is to go through and sort of talk build quality, how they feel, what the I/O is like. You know, it totally makes sense that I would have liked the keyboard on the Blade Stealth. As much as Alex might hate this keyboard, I personally really like it. So this one's only got 2 USB Type A's, but that is enough for a keyboard and a thumb drive, which is sort of my typical maximum when I'm traveling. It does have Thunderbolt 3 as well, which means you can either use just a standard Type-C dongle like I already have, or something like an external Thunderbolt GPU. It's got a quad-core processor. Razer switched over to Intel networking from Killer Networking, and I'm personally a fan of that move. Overall, the only thing I didn't really like about this from the original review was kind of the boxy shape, but I kind of feel now like I might have been a little bit unfair to it because it really doesn't feel that bad in the hand at all. And the touchpad being nice and big like that, I'm a huge fan of that. The RGB backlit keyboard is obviously a nice touch. Actually, wait a minute. This doesn't have dual Thunderbolt, does it? Oh, dang. Oh, that's really nice. Now, the Gram's main selling point is the massive 72 watt-hour battery, and I've daily driven one of these before, and it is really nice, basically charging every 2 or 3 or maybe 4 days, depending on how heavily you use it. Something to note about this one, even though we do have the barrel adapter plugged in, is that it does charge over the Thunderbolt Type-C port, so that's a huge plus for me, more than I really thought about before I started this, because it means I can carry a single Type-C power adapter for my Switch, my laptop, and my phone while I'm traveling. But only a single Thunderbolt port. Ooh, native HDMI out though, full size. That is pretty nice to see, but they're still using an M-SATA SSD. There's no discrete graphics like this one, and unlike most of the other contestants, it's using only a 1080p display, which strikes me as a little bit ironic given that LG is the only company here that actually manufactures LCD panels. Subject of things that it has to make up ground for, the build quality is just not up there with the Razer Blade Stealth. On the subject of build quality, Apple still does it like few others do. This thing is hyper thin, super rigid. I mean, even the screen. It's almost like they have a bunch of experience building tablets, you know, like super thin tablets, super thin phones, you know, that bent once before and they learned their lesson from. The thing that's really hard for me to get over here is the I/O. Not having even a single Type A USB is the kind of thing that can end up being inconvenient for me. Maybe I do go out and buy a Type C, you know, USB thumb drive or something like that. There's still things where I might have to, like a two-factor authentication key, where now I have to go get that and I have to go get a dongle, and I'm usually using something like that at a time when it's really inopportune to be slowed down. The other thing that kind of kills the MacBook Air for me is the dual-core processor. If they refresh this thing with a quad-core CPU, Now they got my attention again because the keyboard's not my favorite, but the trackpad is hands down the best out of anything in front of me. So it does have Touch ID built into the power button, something I really liked when I spent time with the last MacBook that I reviewed. But some of the Windows machines here, including the Blade Stealth and our next one, have Windows Hello with Facial ID, and I definitely prefer that. I'd also have to get used to macOS again, but I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world, it's just not my preference. Unless this really blew me away, I wasn't going to go with it. Moving on to the Surface Laptop 2, to Microsoft's credit, magnetic power cords are pretty cool in like a 2008 chic kind of way. But unlike the MagSafe connector, this one you can actually pull the laptop a fair distance with it before it disengages, depending on the angle you're using. So you could actually conceivably pull it off the table. Biometric authentication. It's 3x2, which is really nice for productivity. That aspect ratio makes a huge difference. It was far from the worst display, and it feels really good in the hand, but it's not as stiff as the others, although I get it because they've got this, soft touch surface here. And it's really expensive. I just don't think it's really a candidate for me. Now this one was kind of surprising to me when I saw the pricing. So XPS 13 as it has 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of NVMe storage. It's a similar spec CPU to everything else we're looking at here. So if I was going to, do some light photo editing or very, very light video editing or plays a casual Steam game or something on the road, it would perform similarly to anything but the Blade Stealth 4K, which is going to outperform it by about double in games if 3D Mark is anything to go by. A single Thunderbolt port? No, dual Thunderbolt again, with another Type-C on the other side, micro SD, and single Type-A. Man, it already had one rose. But the pricing for this guy is really reasonable when you consider the build quality, which is, I seem to remember it being better. It's okay. It's not up there with Apple or Razer in terms of the actual flexibility of it, but I really like the keyboard and I really like the screen and I really like the price and I really like the look. It's been a long time since I've used a Dell. I actually don't remember the last time I daily drove a Dell. Yes, I do. Wow, my old XPS 12 2-in-1.
If you guys need help gearing up for any of the new content in Grand Theft Auto Online, check out G2A with the link in the description, and use cashback code BOSS if you want to save a little bit extra as well. Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's GTA 5 video, we're going to be celebrating Valentine's Day 2020 in Grand Theft Auto Online with an update that has brought about a ton of new content, including a new vehicle, diamonds in the casino vault, and a whole lot more. So let's jump right into it, and let's start with the new vehicle, the Sugoi, which Rockstar says is now available. So on the Newswire post they said this: blink and you'll miss it. The Dinka Sugoi is ready to hit the track in a glorious blaze of competitive destruction. Racing or rolling through the streets, owning the star is a clear way to show you're up there in the stratosphere of style. And they give a couple other filters as well. Just paint it bright, aim the lights, and power slide your way around town. As far as the performance, they say lure the admiration and friendship that you could not alone. As far as styling goes, they say the Dinka Sugoi has as much flash as the elaborate mating ritual of a bird in paradise. And last, they say Sugoi, power slide your way around town. And they finish off by saying, available now from Southern San Andreas Super Autos. And that's exactly where you will find this vehicle for sale. It is a 4-seater sports car. It has a buy it now price of $1,224,000. and a trade price of $918,000. And I'm sure you guys know by now that in order to get the price, you have to use this vehicle as a part of the Diamond Casino heist as one of your getaway cars, and it will ultimately save you 25%. In this case, $106,000. So if you have the trade price unlocked, that's how much money you're going to save. It's a pretty good chunk of change. Now let's take a look at the in-game description of this vehicle. It says, how do you let people know you're interesting and exciting without engaging in conversation or even making eye contact? The Dinka Sugoi has as much and traction is like with diamonds in the vault. Should you successfully complete the Diamond Casino heist and on any subsequent takedowns of the Diamond's vault, there will still be a reduced chance of grabbing more ice. So how about that? The final vault item, Diamonds, has now been added, and it looks like it's here to stay. We'll talk about that again in a future video. This is just sort of outlining what's going on in the event week. But now, when you go to the Diamond Casino and you end up doing the heist, you're going to get diamonds, which is incredible. Now, diamonds aren't the only great way to make money this week. Rockstar says, speaking of heist, the Fleece Job, Prison Break, and Series A are all paying out double this week. So there's plenty of ways to diversify your streams of income. So those are like the original heist missions, 3 of the 5 original ones that you can end up doing for diamonds. And because it's Valentine's Day, Rockstar says love is very much in the air of Los Santos, and there's plenty of Valentine's Day content to explore. Couple up and jump into a round of Till Death Do Us Part, which is paying out double this week, and a selection of other adversaries, including Offense Defense, Hasta La Vista, and Lost vs. Damned, are all dishing out 2 times money and RP as well. So that's quite nice. And they go on to say, if you're looking to set the mood, pop a bottle of bubbly. Champagne is free all week long after all. And don't sweat the bottom line either, since nightclub income is doubled this week. So that's pretty cool. And the Valentine's Day theme continues because at the Diamond Casino and Resort, you can take your free spin at the Lucky Wheel to potentially win the Albany Roosevelt Valor. Rockstar says, do you long for a time when suits for double-breasted and criminals ran rampant on the streets? Then stop by the lobby of the Diamond Casino and Resort and give the Lucky Wheel a spin. In addition to cash prizes, RP, clothing, and more, you've also got a shot at winning the Albany Roosevelt Valor, that classic limousine with all the mob's favorite trimmings. And this was one of the Be My Valentine update editions all the way back from 2006. And you can actually get a chance to win this. It's got a fancy, like, candy apple red and paint job. And as always, when Rockstar adds a new vehicle to the podium, whether it's Valentine's Day or not, we always take a chance at spinning that lucky wheel to see if we can grab the vehicle. And what did we get this time? Did we end up getting lucky on Valentine's Day? The answer is, of course we did not. And we ended up getting some random article of clothing. Now, random articles of clothing, that's a good segue into what Rockstar is giving away next. That is a free item, a free t-shirt, the Albany tee. Rockstar says the best things in life are made in America, and Albany is no exception. Simply play Grand Theft Auto Online anytime before February 19th to receive a free Albany tee, and you can proudly wear a piece of quintessential Americana on your chest. So, a free t-shirt just for logging in this week. And they mentioned that it lasts through February 19th. That is true. It's also true for everything else. The current event only lasts long, so all the bonuses, discounts, and sales will be going away this time next week on February 19th. Now, I think the only exception to that is diamonds, but again, we'll talk about that individually in a future video. So that's pretty cool. So you still have plenty of time to enjoy all of this content that's going on. Now let's move on to discounts and bonuses. Rockstar says, in the spirit of Rainbow, 30
for strong teeth more every day, use Listerine.
% off all Valentine's. So buy yourself and your boo some matching sweaters and thank us later. And there's also a ton of vehicle, real estate, and weaponry discounts that you need to take advantage of. So here we go. So the following vehicles are 30% off: the Albany Roosevelt, the Albany Roosevelt Valor, the Albany Primo Custom, and the Vapid Hustler. So those are again 30% off. The following are 35% off: the Overflawed Tyrant, the Overflawed Entity XXR, the Debauche Wagner, the Debauche Rapid GT Classic, the Debauche Spectre, the Debauche 770, the Pister Comet SR, and the Fister Neon. The following are 40% off: the Ocelot Stromberg, the Ocelot Swinger, the Ocelot Penetrator, the Ocelot Ardent, and then the Festival Bus for whatever reason. I know that's kind of random, but that's the way Rockstar did it. Now, as far as properties go, facilities, add-ons, and upgrades are 30% off. High-end apartments are 35% off. Nightclubs, add-ons, and upgrades are 35% off. And terabytes, add-ons, and upgrades are all 30% off. Then as far as your weapons go, SMGs are 40% off, assault rifles are 40% off, and sniper rifles are 40% off as well. And then there's the Twitch Prime bonuses that are going on. You can still get Pixel Pete's Arcade for free via rebate within 72 hours, and you can get 35% off the fire truck and the lifeguard truck. I don't know, this week kind of sounds like a lame Twitch Prime bonus set, but still, 35% off those vehicles, not terrible. And last but not least, you've got the premium races and the time trial. So the time trial this week is Observatory, which has a par time of 2 minutes, 4.4 seconds, located in Vinewood Hills. So you can get extra money this week by completing that. The RC Bandico time trial is Vespucci Beach, obviously on Vespucci Beach, with a par time of 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And last but not least, you've got the premium race, which is Ground, which is a motorcycle race. So that right there is pretty much everything that is going on this week in Grand Theft Auto Online, where Rockstar is celebrating Valentine's Day, introducing a ton of brand new content, lots of things, a whole lot more. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. What do you think of this event week? And also, what do you think of the brand new vehicle that Rockstar has introduced? The Dinka Sugoi. Is this a vehicle you're going to be buying today, or are you staying away from it? Will you wait till it's on a discount, or where you can get it for a certain percentage off? Let me know your thoughts, opinions, and more in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you guys did go to enjoy this video,